The one spec I've been looking forward to on the Sony A7V might not be happening. The Sony Alpha Rumors website leaked some photos and some specs for the Sony A7V, and it looks like they're going to be using the same 33 megapixel sensor as the A7IV. Tony Northrup is speculating that it still might only be limited to 4K 60p, still with that same APS-C crop as a Sony A7IV. That would be devastating because the only reason that I'm looking to upgrade to the Sony A7V from the Sony A7IV is for some advanced video specs. I love the Sony A7IV's 33 megapixels for photography, but when it comes to video, I definitely want 4K 120. I film a lot of wildlife, particularly squirrels, and they're so fast moving that I love to slow it down in 120 frames per second, and I just don't like the look of the HD on the Sony A7IV. It's a little bit muddy, and once I started to use a 4K 120p on the Sony A7S III, I really fell in love with that crisp, beautiful 4K. The 4K 60 on the Sony A7IV is okay for wildlife, especially because I can use that crop, but it doesn't slow the footage down enough to take out all the jitters. I love the 120p. So if the speculations end up being true that the Sony A7V is going to be using a recycled sensor from the Sony A7IV, and it'll still only be able to do 4K 60p with a crop, I don't think I'll be interested in investing in this one. And plus, the price is expected to be set at $3,000, which I think is a little bit too expensive for a more entry-level camera. Ultimately, my dream camera would be the Sony A1 Mark II. It has everything that I desire, but it's about $6,500, and that's completely out of my price range. I've heard so many varying rumors about the Sony A7V sensor. I was hearing it was going to be 44 megapixels, and now it's down to 33, and no one is really sure if it's going to be stacked or not. Some of the more promising features that are speculated on the Sony A7V are that it's going to have the body design of the Sony A7R5, and I really love how that screen can flip and tilt. That would be a big upgrade. It's also supposed to have the new AI chip, which I've really come to love on the Sony ZV-E1. It's amazing how well it works. It even lets me focus in on insects, and I found it so useful. Since I do consider myself to be a hybrid shooter, since I love photography just as much as I love videography, I was really hoping for a camera that could let me do everything. I know there are some more affordable options out there for a true hybrid camera that has the specs that I need. The original Canon R5 had 45 megapixels and could do 4K 120, and you can find that on the used market for a decent price. But I really don't want to sell off all of my Sony lenses and switch over to Canon. There's also the original Sony A1. You can get that if you're really lucky for around $3,000 used on eBay. But it doesn't have that stills video switch that I've really come to love, and I really don't want to invest that much in that camera. So I really had high hopes that this new Sony camera would allow me to do everything that I wanted it to. I was going to sell my Sony A7S III and my Sony A7IV to be able to invest in this new Sony A7V. I love my Sony A7S III for the 4K 120, but the 12 megapixels leaves me a little bit frustrated when it comes to cropping any kind of photo. And I love the Sony A7IV for photography. The 33 megapixels has been more than enough. I know not everyone is so interested in 4K 120, but it's an important spec for what I enjoy doing. So what do you think about these rumors on the Sony A7V? Do you think maybe, just maybe, they'll give us 4K 120? And would that be a deal breaker for you? I wonder if they're not using a little bit of the Canon cripple hammer and keeping those specs reserved just for the flagship Sony A1. 4K 120 when so many of the newer cameras are doing 8K doesn't seem like a lot to ask, does it? I guess we'll find out one way or another when they announce it in November. We won't be able to buy it till next year anyway, but I'm hoping for the best. If you like this video, give it a like, consider subscribing for more camera-related content from a newbie like me. God bless.